My name is Bianca. I got married to Joe some years ago. It was a very beautiful marriage until the worst happened. That was Brenda. Joe got into her because he thought I was older than him. He needed a younger lady who will make him feel happy. I am not the type that any man will mess with and go free. I made Joe to understand that I made him and I took back everything. I sold everything and made him empty again. I know you'll think that I am wicked. I know you may think that this could be my worst revenge ever. Don't judge me yet. Just pay attention and hear me out. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, do well to subscribe, like, and hit on notifications. To all my returning subscribers, thanks for stopping by. Let us begin. I was never the type to believe fairy tales even when I married Joe. He was charming, sure, had a way of making people feel seen. That smile of his could warm a room. But I always knew charm was just a mask people wore. And sometimes they forgot to take it off. Joe and I met in DC during a political fundraiser. He was 10 years younger in the game, and 3 years younger in age. I was already climbing ladders in corporate real estate, and he was still figuring out how to shake hands with confidence. I saw something in him, a spark, maybe, or a kind of desperation that looked like ambition. Either way, I helped him shine. We got married 2 years later. I believed in him. I stood behind his campaigns. I introduced him to the right people. And when he needed to build an image of a stable family man, I gave him just that. I wasn't just the wife. I was the architect of his success. The houses we lived in, I bought them. The cars, the vacation homes, the summer retreats, all under my name. Joe had the dreams, I had the means. But dreams change, don't they? 2 years ago, I started noticing something different about him. He was more distant. He stopped coming to bed early, stopped asking about my day. I'd find him on his phone late at night, always smiling, always typing. At first, I thought it was campaign work, some new intern maybe, or a strategist. But it wasn't that innocent. Her name was Brenda. Young, loud in the way men like Joe enjoy, and most importantly new. He said he didn't feel anything for me anymore. Like I was some faded photograph in a dusty frame. He didn't say it with words, but he didn't have to. The late night whispers, the lies, the new cologne. It all painted a picture I couldn't ignore. I confronted him one night in the kitchen. He was pouring himself a glass of wine, and humming a tune that didn't belong to us. Who is she? I asked. He froze. His hands trembled slightly, and then he gave me the coward's answer. Bianca, I don't think we're working anymore. That was all he had to say. That's all I needed to hear. He didn't know that I already knew about Brenda. I knew she worked at a local campaign office. I knew she had no job before Joe pulled her in and started paying her bills, her rent, her car, even her hair appointments. I knew she was just the type to play mistress until things got hard. So I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I did what smart women do when they realize the man they built has started to rot from the inside out. I started dismantling the tower. Every house, every car, every business we owned, I sold them off one by one. Quietly. Legally. I had the paperwork. They all bore my name. I had bought them because Joe's name was never good enough for the banks. While he smiled for cameras and shook hands at galas, I was the one signing dotted lines. When he noticed, it was already too late. What the hell is going on? He asked me one morning, after he realized the apartment in New York was no longer in our portfolio. I'm cleaning house, I said, sipping my tea. You sold our homes? No, ikurakta. I sold my homes. The look in his eyes, panic, betrayal, disbelief, should have satisfied me, but all I felt was hollow. Years of loyalty, of sacrifice, undone by lust and a younger woman's perfume. He threatened to fight. Said he would go public, ruin me. But Joe forgot something. He needed me more than I ever needed him. His image, his lifestyle, even his political base, half of it leaned on me. And the rest? Well, they were the same kind of men who wouldn't blink twice before turning on a man who cheated on a beautiful, successful woman. I filed for divorce the following week. Served him papers while he was doing a photo op at a children's hospital. Poetic, really. That night, I packed up what was mine and left the house. The last of our shared properties, which had already been sold. Joe had no choice but to pack his things and go. There was no home left for him here. It didn't take long for the news to spread. The divorce of a high-profile politician and his wife always makes good headlines, especially when the wife is the one walking away with everything. The media loved it. They painted me as the scorned woman who got her revenge. Maybe I was. Maybe I wasn't. But I didn't care about the spotlight. I just wanted my peace. Joe moved into a rented condo downtown. Small, modern, soulless. A far cry from the 6-bedroom home we shared in the suburbs. He tried to keep up appearances, still wore his expensive suits, still gave speeches, still showed up at events like nothing had changed. But behind the smile I could see it, he was crumbling. Brenda didn't help much. First, she was the perfect distraction. She followed him around like a shadow, laughed too loudly at his jokes, wore those tight dresses that said, "I belong to a man with power." Joe enjoyed it. He needed it. After losing everything, she was the only thing he had left. But that didn't last. Brenda wasn't interested in broken men. She liked the version of Joe who paid her bills, who booked vacations, who spoiled her with gifts and dinners. She liked the Joe that Bianca built, not the Joe he became when the empire collapsed. I heard she started complaining. Said Joe was always stressed, always broke. He couldn't afford her lifestyle anymore. And Brenda didn't sign up for struggle. She was young, ambitious in her own way, and loyal only to comfort. Once the money stopped flowing, so did her affection. Joe tried to hold on. He promised her things, said he would get it all back. That he was working on new deals, talking to people in high places, getting back on his feet. But words don't pay rent. Promises don't buy dresses. And then the real blow came. Brenda got pregnant. I found out from a former aide of Joe's. She told me in hushed tones like she thought I'd fall apart at the news. But I didn't. I just sat there, nodded and sipped my wine. Of course Brenda would trap him. That's what women like her do when they feel the ground shifting beneath them. A baby meant leverage. A baby meant a new kind of security. Joe was stunned apparently. He hadn't planned on becoming a father again. Especially not with a mistress who was barely 26 and already talking about forever. But what choice did he have? He was too deep now. They moved in together. Not because they wanted to, but because it made sense. Brenda needed help, and Joe didn't have many options. His image was already cracked. A love child would only make things worse if he wasn't there to do the right thing. But it didn't take long for Brenda to see the truth. Joe wasn't the man she thought she was getting. He wasn't rich anymore. He wasn't powerful in the way she imagined. He was struggling to maintain his seat, struggling to keep up with child support talks, and drowning in debts he never paid attention to when he was with me. With every passing week, the shine wore off. One morning, Joe showed up at my new office. I knew he would eventually. They always do. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was messy, suit wrinkled, tie crooked. He sat across from me and stared like he didn't know where to begin. "She left," he said finally. "I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. Took the baby. Said she couldn't do it anymore. Said I was useless." I nodded slowly. "And I messed up, Bianca." "Yes, you did." He looked like he wanted me to say more. Like he expected some kindness, some hint of the woman who used to believe in him. But I was gone. That woman left the day he threw away our life for something that sparkled cheap and disappeared even faster. He asked if I could help him. Said he didn't want money, just advice. A second chance. A way to start over. I told him the truth. "Joe, you made your choice. You traded stability for thrill, loyalty for lust. And now you're alone. Not because I left, but because you never valued what you had." He didn't respond, just lowered his head and nodded like a man who finally understood. I watched him walk out that door and I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel anger either. I felt peace. He had ruined his own kingdom brick by brick, and all that was left was dust. After Joe walked out of my office, I sat there for a long time, staring at the door like I expected him to come back. But he didn't. And that's when it hit me. This chapter of my life was finally truly closed. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at him, not at Brenda, not even at myself. I'd spent too many nights wondering what I could have done differently, how I didn't see it coming. But sometimes, no matter how much love you pour into someone, it's not enough if they're already thirsty for something else. I moved into a smaller home. Nothing flashy, just a 2-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood near the edge of the city. I didn't need the luxury anymore. I had peace now. And peace, I learned, is the most expensive thing in the world when you're married to a man chasing applause. I started waking up early again. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I'd make tea, sit on my porch, and listen to the world come alive. The birds didn't care about Joe's scandals. The sun didn't care who was faithful and who wasn't. Life moved on. And so did I. Sometimes people from our old circle would call, checking in under the disguise of small talk. But I could hear it in their voices. They weren't calling out of concern. They wanted gossip. They wanted the inside story. I didn't give it to them. I just said, "We're not together anymore, and I'm fine with that." And I was. Truly. Joe, on the other hand, wasn't doing so well. Word got around that he lost his re-election bid. The scandal with Brenda and the baby, then Brenda leaving, didn't sit well with his voters. His party distanced themselves. Sponsors disappeared. Even his friends started dropping off like autumn leaves. Nobody wants to be too close when a ship is sinking. Last I heard, he was living with his brother on the other side of town. Brenda had moved to another state with the baby and didn't leave a forwarding address. Joe tried contacting her, but she blocked him. He tried reaching out to mutual friends, but no one wanted to get involved. That's when it hit him. This wasn't just a low point. This was his new reality. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd find a way to rebuild. But that only happens in the movies. In real life, when you burn every bridge, you're left on an island of your own making. And Joe, despite all his speeches and promises, wasn't good at being alone. I started writing again. Journaling mostly. Then short stories. Then essays about politics, betrayal, and women who refused to be broken. Some of them were published. A magazine editor reached out and asked if I'd consider writing a column. I said yes. It's funny. I used to live in the background of Joe's spotlight. Now I was carving my own path, finally seen for who I truly was. People asked if I ever missed him. I'd be lying if I said I never thought about the good times. The early years when we were a team, when he made me laugh, when we dreamed big together. But love doesn't erase betrayal. And memory doesn't justify staying stuck in a place you've outgrown. One rainy afternoon, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name. I opened it and recognized the handwriting instantly. Joe. It was short. Just a page. Bianca. I ruined everything. I thought I was chasing happiness, but I was just running away from the only real thing I ever had. I understand now, but too late. You didn't deserve what I did. Thank you for everything. Joe. I folded the letter and placed it in the back of a drawer. Not out of sentiment, but because I wanted to remember that even in his final moments of regret, he finally told the truth. And that was enough for me. I walked away from that life with no bitterness. Just lessons. I learned that love without respect is just noise. That silence can be louder than shouting. And that sometimes walking away is the most powerful thing you can do. Now I sleep peacefully. No secrets in my home. No lies under my roof. Just me. The sound of rain against my windows. And the gentle reminder that I chose myself. And I'll keep choosing myself every single day. Have you ever imagined yourself in this kind of situation? And I know so many things could be going on in your mind. What did you do about it? Subscribe to this channel, like, and hit on notifications for more interesting stories like this.